It is sort of ironic that the Independent, which is running a splendid advert here about people living the good life, that is being put over an article about how the Labour government, headed by Sir Keir Starmer, I would remind you, how they have let down a lot of people, probably the weakest and least influential members of society. Now they're talking about the waspy women he's let down. So what are the waspy women, you may ask? Well, I'll tell you, but only after I've told you that I'm Granniopteryx and I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. So the waspy women, waspy means Women Against State Pension Inequality. You see, when the state pension was first given out, women got less, but they also were, because the idea was they would be married and they'd be living partially off their husband's pension. Look, this is the 40s and the 50s, so what do you expect? And women also were retired earlier. They were supposed to retire at 60, whereas the men were supposed to retire at 65. So they'd accrue more for their pension. That was the idea. The whole thing was changed when it was decided sensibly that both men and women should get the same amount of pension, and at the time this was decided it was the age of 65. Now it's gone up to 66, which is an acknowledgement that in general most people live a little longer than they used to. I mean, when the first state pension was mooted at 60 and 65, you didn't expect people, especially working class people, to live much longer than that anyway. So yeah, they're just trying to make their final 2 or 3 years a bit more comfortable. However, what happened was, and this was not the Labour Party's fault, when the idea was changed, there were a lot of women who were coming up to 60 who expected to retire and then were suddenly told, no, that's not happening now. You can't retire until you're 65. But they, or 66, depending on when it was. But the problem was that these women had been planning ahead for retiring at 60. They may have had pension plans that matured when they were 60, or they may have made arrangements to move house and that sort of thing. So they were in serious, some of them in very serious difficulty. And the Labour Party, well, let's see, they had, the Labour Party were very gung-ho about compensating people who were in this sort of fix. And there was this meeting here, there's a meeting of the representatives of the WASPy campaign, and these are all members of Parliament, Labour members of Parliament, who were at that meeting offering their full support. Here they are. Right, well, we don't hear so much of them now, do we? No, we don't. So that was the WASPy that the Labour Party have let down. And of course, as we know, the state pension, the winter fuel payment, they have cut that. That is now being given only to some pensioners in the most straitened circumstances. And I believe that they have to go through hoops and loops and all sorts to prove that they are in the most straitened circumstances. In fact, things are so bad with the Labour promise breaking that the Independent, which is a very leftward paper, has done a list they have actually put out a list here of all the things that Labour have broken their promises over. And the tone of this article, in a familiar change of tune since becoming Prime Minister, Sir Keir on Monday sent his Work and Pensions Secretary out to tell women against state pension inequality they would not be getting any compensation. So even the Independent is acknowledging that Labour just breaks promises one after the other. There will have been plenty of women who voted Labour simply because Labour said they were going to sort out this waspy hiatus business. In a 2022 interview, Sir Keir said all your working life you've got in mind the date on which you can retire and get your pension, and just as you get towards it, the goalposts are moving, you don't get it, and it's a real injustice. Yeah, well, he doesn't seem that worried about the real injustice. At the same time, they're doing a £28 billion green investment pledge. Why don't they invest in older people who've paid taxes all their lives? Most of them. Oh, well, who cares about them? Labour's pre-election manifesto very clearly promised not to increase national insurance, and that's what they've done. And of course, a lot of businesses are, drawing in their horns because of this. So the economy is slowing right down. It's coming to a screeching halt, actually. And the tractor tax. Farmers have also said they feel betrayed by the PM after a 2023 National Farmers Union speech in which he promised to have a new relationship with the countryside and farmers. Well, no, that's one promise he certainly has kept, isn't it? Because he definitely has a new relationship with the farmers. He said that each day brings a new risk to British farming. Losing a farm is not like losing any other business. It can't come back. He knows that. And yet this inheritance tax is actually going to lose people farms. He knows that. And this morning I heard somebody on GB News saying, doesn't he know that betraying the waspy women is just, they'll never forgive him for that. And people were saying, doesn't he know that betraying the pensioners, they'll never forgive him for that? And doesn't he know that adding a tax to private schools, which will close some of them down, people will never forgive him for that? And even worse, according to the Taxpayers Alliance, the revenue they're going to raise on private schools, extra tax to private schools, is actually going to give a negative profit to the state. Revenue raised from imposing VAT on private school fees could almost entirely be lost as a result of the increased cost to the Treasury due to rising demand for state schools. So this is not going to do anyone any good. Doesn't he know? And doesn't he know that what with the pensioners and the waspies and the farmers and the private schools, that they will never get elected again? Well, this is a bit creepy. And I know it sounds a bit tinfoil hatty, but do they think they're not going to have any elections anymore? Is that why they're not bothered about what people think? It says here, Starmer moves to cancel 2025 elections. These are the council elections, of course. And then he says, for the first time since World War II, Keir Starmer's government is poised to cancel the May 2025 county council elections. So it could look as if he's trying out a way of cancelling elections. Now, Starmer has already said he needs 10 years to fulfil his programme of changing Britain into the mould he has created for it. And it's starting to look, now I thought when they were going to cancel some county council elections that it was because they didn't want to suffer the embarrassment of a complete Labour wipeout in these local elections. And that's a very distinct possibility. But it's also a precedent. And it's actually starting to get a bit creepy. I am actually starting to get worried by the behaviour of the Labour Party, simply because they're doing stuff that they know will prevent them from getting elected next time. Oh, and you wonder why they are doing it. And they are getting at the weakest and least aggressive members of society, the pensioners, the retired women, the sort of people he doesn't expect much kickback from, but the sort of people that everyone will remember when they're going out to vote next time. Then the party is working to cancel local elections. Not all of them, by the way. But it does seem to me a bit like an exercise. As I say, I may be getting paranoid because of all the stuff that's going on here. It just seems like too much to ignore. Right, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to play you a song. Now, if the people who made this song have copyright on it, then all the money I get from the advertising will go to the owner of the copyright, not to me. I don't care. I think that would be entirely reasonable. It's a song satirising Keir Starmer's winter fuel payment cuts, and it is not being played by the BBC, even though it's gone to the top of the charts on the internet. With just over a week until Christmas, the charts are packed with festive classics, but Sir Keir Starmer might do a double take at a new entry. A song parodying the Prime Minister by Sir Starmer and the Granny Harmers is topping music downloads charts as a campaign gets underway to make it a Christmas #1. However, the musicians behind the unlikely festive hit say their efforts are being thwarted by broadcasters refusing to give it airtime on the radio. Broadcasters for broadcasters. I assume we're talking about the BBC here and its subsidiary local stations. And it starts, it'll be freezing this Christmas without fuel at home. It'll be freezing this Christmas while Keir Starmer is warm. It'll be cold, so cold, without fuel at home this Christmas. It's brilliantly done. Okay, let me find the link.
That's where I'll be since Keir left me. I wish tears could heat my home. What can I do without fuel? I've got no place to go. It'll be freezing this Christmas without fuel at home. It'll be freezing this Christmas while Keir Starmer's warm. It'll be cold, so cold, without fuel at home this Christmas.
She told me that she doesn't get out of bed till midday because she didn't want to turn the heating on.
Each time I remember I've paid taxes all my life, I cry as I wonder around, and the only things I see are foreign walls and open doors and a freezing OAP. It'll be freezing this Christmas while our money goes abroad. It'll be freezing this Christmas. Rachel Reeves is a fraud. It'll be cold, so cold, without fuel at home this Christmas.
We inherited a situation where there was a £22 billion black hole in the public finances.
Do you remember last year when Rishi was here? We never thought there'd be an end. And I remember looking at you then, and I remember thinking that next Christmas things won't be this bad for us. But darling, this year things are even worse. And we really need warmth. And two-tier Keir doesn't care at all. It'll be freezing this Christmas without fuel at home. It'll be freezing this Christmas while Keir Starmer's warm. It'll be cold, so cold, without fuel at home this Christmas. Merry Christmas, Keir. I hope you can sleep at night.
Okay, a sad song and an appropriate one for this government that has broken every promise it's made. It's just a disgrace. And I hope this song gets circulation, and I hope that YouTube lets my video go without blocking it. We'll see what happens. Till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.